Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ololade of Most Fashion Fix. So remember, in the last class we had on principles of pattern making, I promised we were going to be having some practical sessions. And remember, the three principles we mentioned in pattern making are that's manipulation 1, contouring 2, and added fullness. So if you didn't watch the previous video, please you have to go back to watch it to understand what we'll be doing right here right now. So I decided to bring a design that has these three elements, which are that manipulation, added fullness, and contouring. And if at all there is no contouring in it, of course we'll find a way to incorporate contouring so you can understand these three principles perfectly. Okay, so right here I have a design that we'll be trying to analyze and also draft, so you can have a perfect understanding of what these principles are. So here is a dress right here. I don't know how you're going to see this clearly, to see the style lines and everything going on in here, but then let me just try and zoom this. So look at this particular design right here. This is a dart manipulated design, to analyze this design, the dart in a way is manipulated and it also have added fullness, and yes, the neckline can be contoured. It's a deep V neckline. So from what we have here, this particular dress has a cut. It has a cut from the neckline depth passing through the underbust, and this is a symmetry design. When I say symmetry, it means we have the same design on both the right side and on the left side, meaning you do not have to draft your pattern on fold. Okay, so symmetry design means it is the same, it is regular. What we have, like if you have a line on the center of this dress, what you have on the right side is equal to what you have on the left side. That is what symmetry means, symmetry design. Okay, now this is a symmetry design, and as I was saying, it has a deep V neckline, and there is a cut, there is a style line from the V neckline passing through the underbust. Now, passing through the underbust technically means that the style line is passing through the waist dart. So automatically the waist dart has to be transferred somewhere, or it has to be permanently closed for we to have this style line. Then the remaining part of the waist dart was then sewn. Now this dart that was sewn, you can decide to turn it into fullness if you do not want to sew that right here. So apart from the style line from passing through the underbust, there's another style line from somewhere below the waist all the way to somewhere around the hip line on the side. That is from the center front to the side front. So this cut is coming from somewhere below the waistline, below the true waistline. Then it's slanted towards the side as if it's going to the hip line, but not really getting to the hip line. Okay, then it has a collar kind of, then it has fullness on the skirt part. This fullness is further is pleated. It is not gathered, it is pleated. So this is the front of this design. You can decide whatever you want for the back, or basically you can have the same thing at the back as well. Now to start with, for this particular dress, you know, there is no cut coming from the actual, that is from the true waistline. So this means that you need a gown block to achieve this design. Yes, you need a gown block to achieve this design, and there are different ways to go about this, but then I'll be showing you the easiest way to go about this, so you don't even waste your time or get worked up about creating this design, especially for the fact that it doesn't have a seam line, doesn't have a waist cut. Okay, so what you're going to do is to draft your gown block to your desired length, and that is what I have here. I have a gown block right here. This is the front block and here is the back block. So what you notice on this pattern is that my waist dart is getting to the bust point, that is the apex or the pivotal point right here. You can see that, right? And the waist dart on the skirt is also getting to the exact hip line. So when you're trying to have a dart manipulated design, this is what you have to do. you have to make sure your dart is touching the pivotal point, both the bust dart and the waist dart, and you make sure the waist dart on the skirt is also getting to your hip line. Yes, this is my bodice. From the shoulder to the waist is my bodice, and from the waist to the hem is my skirt. And another thing you will notice on this pattern is that the skirt is not shaped. There is no point doing that since we are still going to add fullness to this skirt. And of course, you first of all turn this skirt to an A-line silhouette, or as we proceed, we'll see the best way to just go about this to achieve the fullness and everything. So to start with, here is my pattern, and the first thing I'm going to do right here is to separate the front from the back. Then after separating the front from the back, I am also going to separate this pattern on the waistline. Yes, I'm going to separate on the waistline. So I'll grab my paper scissors to do this. Okay, can put the back aside for now. Then on the true waistline, I'm going to separate the pattern. Now, to make this way easier, what I'm going to do on this pattern is to close the existing darts, both the standard waist darts and the side darts. So both darts will be closed, and the same will be repeated on the skirt pattern as well. Now, what happens when you close your dart is that this pattern is going to look a bit distorted. So we are going to do something I refer to as filling up. Yes, we fill up. So here's my bodice. I'll go ahead, close the waist dart and also close the side darts. And when you're closing from the side to the center. Okay, from the side to the center. So to make closing easy, just form a crease line on the first dart leg, or the dart leg on the side. You form a crease line, okay, then you rest it on the second dart leg, making sure that whatever you are closing is not exceeding that dart leg. It must not exceed that dart leg. So what you do to make this easier is that once you form the crease line, if this is your actual pattern, then you raise your pattern paper, you raise it up so that you can easily close the dart. This is a life-saving technique to closing your dart. You see, my pattern paper is not rumpled. All you have to do, form a crease line on the first dart leg, then rest it on the second one. So while doing this, make sure you just raise this paper up like so that you don't have your pattern so rumpled. So what I'll do here now is to permanently close this waist dart. So I'll be using my scotch tape to do that. So I'll go ahead and repeat the same process for the side darts. So I can tuck out my pattern this way. Can you see? See, the pattern is no longer relaxing, right? So I'll also form a crease line on the side darts. Then I'll also rest it on this bust line. I'll repeat the same process. I'll tilt my paper upward so I get this perfectly done. So I'll repeat the same process. I'll go ahead and tape this down permanently for now. Then I'll go ahead and through my side, because the side must have alternated. So I'll through my side gently. Okay, done. And here is what I have. Let me try and talk this out. Now, when you talk this out, what you notice is that the waistline look kind of distorted. So this waistline, what happens is that the center front tilts downward, the side front tilt downward, and there's a shape it has. It doesn't have a straight shape. So what I do here is what I call fill up. So I fill up the waistline so that this part that is looking distorted, can you see? Let me just cut out the actual pattern so you can see this clearly. Okay, can you see what we have? This is it. So in fact, before I fill up, let me just hold on and do the waist that's on the skirt as well. I'm going to also close it. So it's also from the side to the center. So the same process, form a crease line on the first dart leg and lap it over the second dart leg. So same principle is applied there. You can just raise this paper up so you close easily without distorting your paper. Then I'll also go ahead and close, tape down rather. Okay, so now here is what we have. So the darts are closed on both the bodice and the skirt. Now when you try to match up this pattern, you realize that there's going to be a gap in the middle. Can you see? You can see this, right? There is a gap in the middle and this is not right. So this is the point where I refer to as fill up. So this center has to be filled up. So we are going to do this one after the other. We do that of the bodice first, then we do that of the skirt as well. So let me show you how to go about that. So I'm using a contrasting color of paper. I'm using a brown paper so you can clearly see what I'm trying to do. So you can actually make use of your paper tape, your scotch tape, or a glue, but please don't use a watery glue. So I'll be making use of this particular glue stick. So this is what it looks like. It's more like it's an M&G brand, M&G. So I'll just roll it out, then apply on the other side of my pattern. Okay, then I'll place on another paper, on the brown paper, like so. Can you see? So I'll repeat the same on the skirt part as well. Okay, so let's wait for that to dry a bit. Now for the bodice, all you have to do now is to bring your ruler. So you bring your ruler and connect a line from the exact side front to the exact center front. So when you're working with your actual body size pattern, you'll see how much is going to fill up, and how much it will fill up depends on the body size. Okay, so can you see? You place your ruler like so and you connect from the exact side front to the exact center front. So you see a little part of this paper added up, so I'll just trim off the excess. So repeat the same on the skirt as well. Then you cut off the excess. So once you do this, then you bring the patterns together, and at this point it matches up perfectly. So can you see? So you're not going to see any break in between anymore. So you can see this, right? It matches up perfectly. So I'll go ahead and tape it together. And if you do this properly, you realize that the waist that are also still matching up. Okay, designers, here is what we have. We have the full gown block taped together this way. So now we can start working on the design. So like I said, first the neckline, it is a V neckline. So what that means is that it is your choice anyway. You know what to do. I'll maintain the actual 3 inches width neckline, and if you like, you can alter to 3.5 or 4 inches. Then for my neck depth, I'll be choosing either my chest line or my bust point as my neck depth. And another thing to consider for this design is that you need to take note of your under bust length, okay? Because the style line is passing right from the neck depth right under the bust to the side, okay? So I'll just take this point as my under bust, right? Then the point where my style line is ending at is before my true waistline, so I'll just mark this point. So now for my neck depth, I'm making use of the chest line. Okay, so I'll just go ahead, use a slight curve for this neckline. Okay, so this is my desired neckline. Let me just use a marker pen to make it more obvious for you to see. Okay, can you see this? Here is my neckline. So now we are already doing the one of the principles of pattern making, which is manipulation of the darts. So I'm going to take the style line now right from my neck depth, passing through my underbust to my side. Now, you know, when you see designs, you can always alter whatever you don't find comfortable enough for you. Like this style line is constructed with an actual straight line. If you like, you can go ahead and use the same straight line, or you can use a slight curve. It all depends on you. Okay, so you pass through your underbust. So if it's seeming somehow, it's possible that your neck depth is not deep enough. Okay, so and from what I'm saying here, I'll have to come down a bit for my neck depth. So I'll bring my neck depth to my bust point. Yes, to my bust point line. So this is it. So this is what I have to the side. I'll take the style line all the way to the side. So this is it. That means I'm going to bring my neck depth to this point. I hope you understand. So my neck depth is starting from here now. Okay, are we good? I hope we are good. Now, this is the neckline. This is the neckline, and this is the first style line. Okay, now for the second style line, the second style line is starting below the true waistline, and right here is our true waistline. This is the true waistline, that part where we tape the pattern together. That's our true waistline. So this second style line is starting somewhere below the true waistline, because from this picture, this is the true waistline right here. So that means this style line, second style line, is coming from somewhere below. So from the true waistline, I'll just come down by 1.5 or 2 inches. Okay, but on the miniature pattern, it can be up to that. This, and it is going to the side. Okay, this is my center front. Okay, from the center, I'll go down by 1.5, 1 to 2 inches, 1.5 or 2 inches. So here is it. Then I'll connect to the side, but the connection to the side is not getting to the hip line, so you can choose somewhere before your hip line. Okay, so, and since I use a slight curve here on this point, I'll also use a slight curve on this point as well. So designers, one thing is that when you see designs, you don't have to conclude that, oh, it's difficult, I can't do it. All you have to do is to first of all look at it critically. Look at the lines, look at the darts, look at the style lines. Does it have fullness? Is it symmetry? Is it asymmetry? What is the neckline looking like? Okay, these are the things you need to consider, and not just conclude that, oh, it's hard, I cannot make it, oh, I cannot do it. So here is my style line. All right, now this is it. So designers, to exercise another principle, which is contouring, like I explained the other time, that is more like tightening. So this neckline, we will have to tighten this neckline, because a deep neckline have tendency of gaping. Okay, so to contour the neckline or to tighten the neckline, but I'll be using the word contouring here, so you understand that what we are talking about is the principles of pattern making. Okay, so the neckline is meant to be tightened, and the value you tighten will vary, and this could vary according to what size. It's just like an intuition, like more from your experience, that okay, this neckline is so deep, I might have to tighten at 2 points, or 1 point is okay. Okay, let me take 0.25 on both sides. Okay, 0.375 on both sides, or ½ inch on both sides. So for this, I'll just assume I'm taking ½ inch on both sides. So first thing I'll do is to have an eye for details, to determine or to decipher, like, okay, where around my neckline is this gaping likely to occur. So my first tie line for my gaping dart, which will enable me to do contouring, will start from my neckline up to my pivotal point, that is my bust point. So I'm going to have a straight 2 lines. So the first one, so around that point where you feel gaping is likely to occur, okay? So it will go to the bust points, okay? Then how many inches do you want to contour with? 1 inch, half inch, whatever you want to contour with, just go ahead. From the first line, measure what you want to contour with, okay? When you measure, then you connect it to the same bust points. Okay, so that is our gaping dart, which will affect the contouring, like taking out excess. Okay, so what I'm going to do right here now is to close this gaping dart. And once you close a gaping dart, your neckline or the style line around that point is going to alternate. So that means I'll have to true it. Truing, you can read on what truing is, okay? So now the same principle that we use to close the waist dart and the bust dart is what we also use to close this gaping dart that we are making to use that we are using to create the contour, okay? So you can talk this out, then form a crease line on the first line and rest it directly on the second line, okay? Whichever one you choose to fold first is fine. So here we go. I'll form a crease line on this, then I'm going to rest it directly on the second line, okay? So here we go. So the same principle applies. Once you try to close, then tilt up your pattern. So you're also going to tape this down permanently. Now you see what I said, right? That when you try to close the gaping dart, the neckline is going to alternate. So it's not a problem. Go ahead and truing to make sure that the lines align. Of course, you still maintain the neck depth. So can you see? So this is the neck depth, okay? So you can then go ahead and close that gaping dart permanently. On no account should you open it. So that is one principle of pattern making, contouring, okay? So let me cut out this neckline so this begins to look good and make more sense to you.